From ancient swords forged with fallen stars to manuscripts filled with demonic languages and mysterious stone spheres crafted by civilizations erased from history, archaeology continues to make discoveries that blur the line between what we think we know and what may have been lost. Today, we'll be looking at the top 15 ancient archaeology discoveries that refuse to fit neatly into the story of our past. Before we start, if you're new here, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Number 15. Codex Gigas. The Book of Devil, the Codex Gigas, aka the Devil's Bible, is well famous for two main reasons. One, it is believed to be the largest preserved medieval manuscript on Earth. And the second reason, it contains a large, full-page portrait of the devil that has fueled speculation for centuries. The Codex Gigas was created around 1229 for a Bohemian monastery, but was brought to Sweden as spoils of war in the 17th century. Its pages hold far more than religious scripture. Alongside the complete Latin Bible are historical chronicles, medical treatises, calendars, exorcism rituals, magical formulas, and other texts gathered from across the medieval world. Few books from the period attempted to preserve such a wide range of knowledge in a single volume. But its reputation comes from an old legend. According to the story, a monk condemned for breaking his vows promised to create the greatest book ever written in a single night. But when the task proved impossible, he turned to Satan for help. Historians reject the story, but one mystery remains. Why would a manuscript devoted mostly to sacred scripture contain a weird image of the devil? Number 14. The ancient garden cities of the Amazon rainforest is one of those places that continues to conceal far more than it reveals. For centuries, stories circulated about lost settlements hidden beneath the jungle, but evidence was frustratingly scarce. But then, in Ecuador's Upano Valley, near the foothills of the Andes, researchers used LiDAR technology to peer through the dense vegetation and find something extraordinary. What emerged was not a handful of isolated villages, but an immense network of interconnected settlements stretching across more than 100 square miles. More than 6,000 earthen platforms appeared in geometric arrangements, marking the locations of homes, ceremonial structures, and public spaces. There were wide roads, some reaching 30 feet across, that linked these communities together. Cutting through hills and crossing uneven terrain with a level of planning and precision that seemed completely at odds with the old belief that the Amazon could not support large urban populations. The settlements were built by the Quilomope and later the Upano culture, which occupied the region for more than 1,000 years. At its peak, the population may have reached 30,000 people. Then, for some mysterious reason, the cities disappeared, and the Amazon slowly closed over everything these people left behind. Number 13. The Gotthard coin of Vikings. There is very little disagreement surrounding the main penny itself. Historians know what it is, where it was found, and when it was minted. The real mystery begins when people ask how it managed to arrive there in the first place. Also known as the Gotthard coin, this artifact is a Viking silver penny dating to the reign of Olaf Kyrre, King of Norway, during the 11th century. It was found in 1957 by amateur archaeologists examining a shell hidden near Naskag Point, the site of an ancient Native American settlement on the coast of Maine. Finding the coin was great enough, but explaining its presence has proven far more difficult. A Viking coin turning up at a Native American site raises the possibility that contact between Norse explorers and indigenous peoples extended farther than currently documented. The problem is that the only confirmed Viking settlement in North America remains Lansos Meadows in Newfoundland. Many scholars remain cautious about drawing major conclusions from a single coin. Others have suggested it may have been planted as a hoax. Decades later, the question remains unanswered, and the coin continues to occupy a strange place between history and mystery. Number 12. Rouge Melhiri. The Golan Stonehenge, the Arabs call it Rouge Melhiri. In Hebrew, it is known as Gilgal Rephaim. Most people simply refer to it as the Golan Stonehenge. Whatever name you choose, one thing becomes clear the moment you see it. This is not the kind of monument anyone expects to find on an isolated volcanic plateau overlooking the Golan Heights. This 5,000-year-old structure consists of more than 40,000 tons of black basalt stone arranged into 5 huge concentric circles. The outer ring stretches over 500 feet across, making it one of the largest megalithic sites in the Middle East. At its center, there's a stone cairn 15 feet high, which many believed once served as a burial chamber before ancient looters stripped it of whatever secrets it may have held. Archaeologists have studied the site for decades. But who built it, or for what purpose, is still frustratingly elusive. Was it the site of religious ceremonies, or was it used for astronomical observations? Who could have been buried at the center of such a magnificent structure? The answers are lost forever. Number 11. The million-year-old human fossils for most of human history. We believed we were alone in our story. But then fossils began appearing from caves, riverbanks, and forgotten landscapes, revealing that our world was once shared with other kinds of humans. In 2025, 2 discoveries added new faces to that lost family. The first began with a secret. Back in 1933, a laborer working near Harbin, China, discovered a massive human skull while helping build a bridge. Fearing it would be confiscated during the Japanese occupation, he hid it inside a well, where it remained for almost 90 years. Modern analysis later revealed that the skull belonged to a distinct human species known as Homo longi, or Dragon Man. Dating back at least 146,000 years, this individual lived during a harsh ice age and possessed a brain comparable in size to our own. Many researchers now believe Dragon Man may finally reveal the true appearance of the mysterious Denisovans. Thousands of miles away in Spain, archaeologists found part of a human face dating between 1.2 and 1.4 million years ago. They also gave it the name Cima del Elefante face. Together, these finds remind us that humanity's story was once far more crowded and complicated than we ever imagined. Number 10. The ancient Egyptian meteorite dagger. Ancient Egyptians built some of the greatest monuments the world has ever seen. The pyramids, temples, and elaborate royal tombs still attract millions of visitors thousands of years later. But one of the most fascinating objects ever linked to ancient Egypt is not a pyramid, a statue, or even a golden mask. It is a dagger. The weapon was discovered inside the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun, one of the most celebrated archaeological finds in history. When British archaeologist Howard Carter found the tomb in 1922, he found thousands of treasures packed into the burial chambers. Among the gold, jewelry, and priceless artifacts rested a finely crafted dagger placed beside the young king's mummy. At first, there seemed to be nothing unusual about it. The blade measured only about 34 centimeters long and was easily overshadowed by the tomb's far grander treasures. The mystery only emerged decades later when scientists examined the metal itself. What they discovered was completely unexpected. The dagger had not been made from iron mined on Earth. It had been forged from metal that once fell from the sky. During Tut's reign, iron was rarer than gold in Egypt. The Egyptians even referred to it as the metal of heaven, believing it came from the gods themselves. What remains uncertain is how ancient craftsmen shaped such a difficult material and where the meteorite originally came from. Number 9. The ancient stone of Singapore. Singapore's modern history officially began in 1819 when Sir Stamford Raffles established a British trading post on the island. But long before European ships appeared on its shores, stories, maps, legends, and scattered historical accounts spoke of older settlements that once flourished there. The problem is that reliable records from pre-colonial Singapore are scarce, leaving much of its early history shrouded in uncertainty. And this artifact has become the centerpiece of that mystery. This surviving fragment once belonged to a massive sandstone slab that measured roughly 3 meters tall and 3 meters wide. Historians believe it was created sometime between the 10th and 14th centuries and stood near the mouth of the Singapore River for hundreds of years. According to local folklore, the stone was connected to the legendary strongman Badang. More importantly, its surface carried dozens of carved lines that may have recorded important events from Singapore's forgotten past. Sadly, in 1843, British engineers blasted the monument apart during construction work. Only a single fragment survived. To this day, no one has deciphered the inscription, leaving its message buried in silence. Number 8. The giant stone spheres of Costa Rica. For nearly 800 years, the Dix culture flourished across parts of present-day Costa Rica. The civilization eventually vanished, but it left behind one of the strangest archaeological legacies in the Americas, a mystery that has since become a national symbol of Costa Rica. The mystery comes in the form of giant stone spheres. More than 300 of them have been discovered, carved primarily from a coarse igneous rock known as gabbro. Their size varies dramatically. Some are small enough to be carried by a single person, while others measure more than 2.5 meters across and weigh upwards of 15 tons. Today, the decaspheres can still be seen throughout Costa Rica and in museums around the world. For centuries, many remained buried beneath thick layers of sediment, hidden from sight until the 1930s, when large sections of land were cleared for banana plantations. Archaeologists have spent decades studying them, but the most important questions remain unanswered. It's still a puzzle why they were made, what purpose they served, or how their creators shaped them with such precision. The civilization disappeared long ago, but its stone spheres continue to guard their secrets. Number 7. The Selongo skull helmets. Without question, one of the most chilling discoveries on this list came from Selongo, which is an ancient site located along the central coast of Ecuador. While investigating the remains of the ancient Guangala culture, archaeologists found 11 burials dating back to 100 BC. Among them were 2 infants, one around 18 months old and another estimated to be between 6 and 9 months of age. As tragic as the discovery was, it was not the age of the kids that captured attention. It was what had been placed over their heads. Both infants had been buried wearing what researchers later described as skull helmets. Their own skulls had been carefully enclosed within the skulls of 2 older children. We know burial customs often vary dramatically from one culture to another, especially across thousands of years. Even so, archaeologists describe this as the first known example of children's skulls being used as mortuary headgear. The mystery deepened when researchers suggested the outer skulls may still have contained skin and soft tissue when they were fitted into place. So, who performed this disturbing ritual, and why? Number 6. The tablet of the Great Flood. Long before the story of Noah appeared in the Bible, the people of ancient Mesopotamia were already telling a remarkably similar tale. It was a story about a great flood, a warning from the gods, and one man chosen to survive when the rest of the world was swept away. That story survives on a clay tablet discovered among the ruins of the ancient Sumerian city of Nippur in modern-day Iraq. Known today as the Zayasudra tablet, it dates to roughly 1700 BC, making it one of the oldest known flood accounts ever recorded. Time has not been kind to the tablet. Large sections are damaged, leaving parts of the story missing. Even so, enough remains to tell of a righteous king named Zayasudra, who received a warning about a catastrophic flood and built a vessel to preserve life. What makes the tablet so fascinating is how closely parts of the story resemble later flood traditions found throughout the ancient world. Whether those similarities are a coincidence, shared cultural memory, or something else, entirely remains a subject of debate. Number 5. The starving of Saqqara. Ancient Egypt is among the most studied civilizations in human history. For many decades, archaeologists have examined its temples, tombs, statues, and burial sites. But every so often, an object appears that seems completely disconnected from everything else we know about ancient Egypt. One of the most puzzling examples is a sculpture known as the Starving of Saqqara. Believed by some to date back to Egypt's pre-dynastic period, it depicts 2 seated figures facing one another. Both appear unclothed and possess unusually elongated heads. Unlike those seen in traditional Egyptian art, the limestone sculpture is also covered with inscriptions, yet no one has been able to identify the language. Beyond that, certainty quickly disappears. Despite its name, there is no conclusive evidence proving the sculpture was actually discovered at Saqqara. During the 1950s, it entered the collection of antiquities dealer Vincent Diniakopoulos, before eventually being donated to Concordia University in Montreal in 1999. Since then, specialists from around the world have examined it and often reached the same conclusion. They have never seen anything quite like it. So, what does it represent? Number 4. The mysterious Acambaro figures. We all grow up learning that dinosaurs disappeared millions of years before the first humans ever appeared. It is one of the most widely accepted facts in science. But tucked away in the Mexican city of Acambaro is a discovery that has spent decades challenging that idea. The story began in 1944 when Waldemar Jolsrud came across a collection of unusual clay figures near Acambaro. Intrigued by what he found, he hired local workers to continue excavating the area. What followed was unbelievable. More than 32,000 ceramic figurines were recovered from the site. Some depicted ordinary animals and human beings. Others appeared far stranger. Among them were figures resembling dinosaurs, including creatures that looked very similar to species identified by modern paleontologists. There were also representations of people with features linked with Egyptians, Sumerians, and other distant civilizations. Supporters argue that dating tests suggest the figures are ancient, but the truth is lost with the people who made them. Number 3. The Japanese 5 heavenly swords. This sword is one of the most legendary objects in Japan. For centuries, these blades have been celebrated not only for their craftsmanship, but also for the tales tied to them. Warriors carried them, rulers treasured them, and legends grew around them until the swords became almost as famous as the people who wielded them. Forged during Japan's Kamakura period, between 1185 and 1333, the group includes Dojigiri Yasutsuna, Mikazuki Munechika, Onimaru Kunitsuna, Juzumaru Tsunetsugu, and Odenta Mitsuyo. Each sword carries its own history. One was said to have slain a demon near Kyoto. Another became associated with powerful shoguns and noble families. A third was linked to the Buddhist monk Nichiren and was valued more for spiritual meaning than for battle. But what keeps the mystery alive is not simply their history. While some of the swords remain preserved in museums and temples, others seem to have vanished into the chaos of Japan's past. Wars, political tensions, fires, and years of uncertainty have obscured their fate. Whether they still survive in private collections or disappeared long ago remains one of the enduring mysteries surrounding Japan's most celebrated blades. Number 2. Dropa stones, the ancient alien technology. High in the mountains between China and Tibet, there is one of the strangest ancient tales ever told. Whether it is a real mystery or a legend depends entirely on who you ask. According to the account, an expedition exploring the Bayankara Ula Mountains in 1938 came across a series of remote caves. Inside were ancient graves containing unusually small skeletons. The remains reportedly stood just over 3 feet tall and possessed unusually large skulls, making them unlike anything the explorers expected to find. The real surprise, however, was discovered beside the burials. Scattered throughout the caves were hundreds of stone discs nearly 12 inches across. Each contained a hole in the center, while strange grooves spiraled outward toward the edge. Researchers later claimed these grooves were actually tiny symbols carved into the stone. Over time, more than 700 discs were recovered. The mystery deepened when a researcher named Tsum Nui announced that he had translated the markings. According to his interpretation, they told the story of the Dropa, beings whose craft crashed in the region nearly 12,000 years ago. The claim remains controversial, but these tones still puzzle people. Number 1. The burial shroud of Jesus. Christianity has preserved many relics over the centuries, but few have generated as much fascination as the Shroud of Turin. This linen cloth has spent centuries at the center of one of history's most persistent debates. Stretching 14 feet in length, The fabric bears the faint image of a man marked by injuries that closely resemble those described in tales of the crucifixion. To many believers, that image is more than a coincidence. They see it as the burial cloth of Jesus himself. Records place the shroud in France during the 14th century, before it eventually arrived in Turin in 1578. Then, in 1898, an Italian photographer named Secondo Pia captured the first photograph of the cloth. When the negative was developed, a far clearer human figure appeared, surprising everyone involved. The controversy only grew after carbon dating tests in 1988 suggested the fabric originated during the medieval period. But questions surrounding the tested samples, the image itself, and the cloth's earlier history have kept the argument alive ever since. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.